Welcome to another live edition of Five on the Floor. Before we dive into any of the post-game analysis from the Miami Heat's disconcerting loss up in Orlando, let's get to a sponsor. We want to shout out Cozy Earth. They have really great products. And who on your list this holiday season deserves a gift that really helps them relax? Think about it. It could be your partner, your parent, your best friend, even yourself. It's a way to recharge. It's not just a gift. It's a way to recharge. They do a couple really cool things at Cozy Earth with all of the stuff that they offer. Two of the things being their bamboo sheets as well as their bubble cuddle blanket. They have a risk-free purchase, 100-night sleep trial. Try them out. If you don't love them, return them hassle-free. Trust me, you won't want to. They also have a 10-year warranty. Here's the big one. Give the gift of everyday luxury this holiday season. Head to CozyEarth.com and use our code on the floor for up to 40% off. Just be sure to place your order before December 12th for guaranteed Christmas delivery. Listening after the 12th, don't worry. The code still works year-round for 20% off. So you got to use that code. Give the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries into a cozy new year with Cozy Earth. And now, tonight's episode.
Yeah, it's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation, we the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket, open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pick. Still five on the floor, still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court, still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball, or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleeping pads or loud to mornings. The nut is sleeping us, never catch us snoring. Live from Miami, report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the courts to the streets. Yeah. Wade County, Heat Nation, we still proudly.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to Five on the Floor Live. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan, no Ethan Skolnick. He actually traveled up to the game and was on site there in Orlando. So make sure to follow him for all the coverage up there. But we have Brady Hawk. You know where to find him. We have Alex Toledo. You know where to find him. And you'll find all of us on Off the Floor. Make sure to check that out. That's our Discord server. The link is in the description of this episode. It's $2.99 a month. It's the most heat anywhere. You're going to be able to talk Miami Heat basketball 24/7. You can vent about losses like tonight. You can be excited when good things happen. Do it all on Off the Floor. So I want to shout that out initially. But let's get right into it. The Miami Heat lose what is ultimately a clunky effort overall, 117-108 up in Orlando. Orlando seems to have this team's number. They've beat them 3 times now. And I don't remember what the preseason games were like, but they played this team now. Feels like 6 or 7 times, damn it. And this was a game where the Heat started out hot. They got off to a really strong start in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, it was essentially the complete opposite. And from there, the Heat were on their basically on their heels the rest of the game. Brady, I'll go to you first. Your thoughts just on this matchup against Orlando. These were 2 teams coming into tonight with the same record. So your thoughts on Orlando as a matchup, but also just tonight.
Yeah, I hate this matchup, to be honest. I just don't like it. I don't like what they can present to Miami on both ends of the floor. I don't trust this matchup. And I don't think it's this Orlando team specifically, but I think it's what they represent and the type of team that they are, because it's the type of team that Miami has struggled with not only all season, but for a good portion of the last few years, even in the Jimmy era. They've just struggled with these bigger teams, positional size, length that could kind of close out on the perimeter but cut you off on a drive. Like those type of teams really give them trouble. And I mean, we're seeing that this season. That's like, we could go down the line here to start with Tyler and Norm, who had great start to the game, out the gate, running, playing fast. I mean, look, this is something I'd say I feel like on every podcast we do, because it feels like Miami every game comes out the gate firing offensively. The pace is fast. Everything looks great. And then it just slowly goes away. The pace slowly slows down. The offense slowly slows down. The efficiency slowly goes down. And it's all this happening. But I just thought Orlando did a good job, which has been a case recently with any team they played, of taking Norm and Tyler out of the game from three. It's been a bad trend because when they're not able to get firing from three, I don't like Miami's chances offensively, no matter if they're running or not. It's just not a good thing to have. You just cannot have your two top scorers and shooters not shooting the ball. And Norm was. I mean, let's give him credit. Early in the game, he was shooting well. He was shooting efficiently. And then that went out the gate quick. I think he missed like 5 or 6 straight threes to finish the game. Tyler ended up 0 for 6 from 3. They just couldn't buy a bucket from that area of the floor. And it's like, we know this team's role players aren't good enough shooting group anyway. Usually in the Jimmy era, it was like, okay, well, if their main guys don't shoot well, they had the Struces and the Gabes and the Duncans or anybody down the line that their role players were their shooters. This isn't that. Their best players are their shooters, so they have to be that. So that's just kind of been my big takeaway, is that they struggle with teams like this that can present that type of size. And then I'll mention, because it probably shouldn't have taken this long for me to say it, the defense has just not been good for a good portion of time recently. Like, it's like they somehow, I keep mentioning how they're somehow still in the top 5 of defensive rating because that's how good they were early in the year, but it has been bad lately. Like, it's just like they're getting taken advantage of from everywhere on the floor. We're going to talk about Desmond Bane, I'm sure, pretty soon. But that wasn't just Desmond Bane getting going to me. That was Miami allowing him to get to that point. That wasn't just a guy finding his rhythm because he's a good scorer, which he is. It was, you did not do a good enough job defensively, and that's across the board, because there's some guys on this team that are really good defenders that we'll talk about that didn't do a good enough job on some of these guys on Orlando.
Yeah, the reoccurring theme of Bane just getting to his spots, being so comfortable. And I know that he had a bad shooting night. I think the game last matchup against Miami. So also there's some regression to the mean in that he's going to find some form of his offense, but not to this extent. And obviously, I think there was also having Andrew Wiggins on Wendell Carter is a rough matchup at times. And so this team presents the type of size that Miami, I think, they aspire to be able to play big and get out and run and do some of the things that Orlando did tonight. Alex, before we go further, let's dive into the first segment, because that'll kick off how the hell they defended or didn't defend Desmond Bane tonight. Let's get to the player of the night.
And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
Well, we know it's Desmond Bane, 37-8 or 37-6-5, excuse me, in 38 minutes. He was awesome. But they had other guys that played well tonight. Alex, your thoughts on how they defended Desmond Bane? Brady alluded to that it wasn't just him getting to his spots and feeling comfortable. This also was I think an overall aggressive. There wasn't enough aggression. There wasn't enough effort. Your thoughts on the performance overall in defending Desmond Bane?
Yeah, I thought for sure that was, if not the biggest, the theme for why things turned around in this game for the Heat. It's right up there, right? I think like Brady mentioned, it wasn't just him, but he was definitely the primary culprit here, especially with when you look at what happened in that first quarter. Like, not only did the Heat get hot, as we've seen throughout plenty of first quarters throughout the season, another thing that's had them be such a good first quarter team is their defense. And you saw that in the first quarter. I thought they played a phenomenal first quarter defensively. And then I just couldn't say the same for the other quarters that came afterwards. Like, I thought they were on point. I thought Andrew Wiggins was doing great. They all looked active as a team. I think they always do a good job on Paolo, and Paolo wasn't necessarily the problem tonight. He had his moments, but Bane, he was 1 for 4 in the first quarter. Went 13 of 20 afterwards. I did some quick math, so I might not be 100% accurate, but I think it's 13 of 20 from the second through the fourth quarter. and he just kept getting open, man. Like, and obviously he made some tough ones there. They weren't all wide open, but like Brady said earlier, they just didn't do a great job executing their defensive scheme and getting out to him. Like, the one play that stuck out, which to me was just like the worst one, was I think in the third quarter when they got Bane to pass it down to Bitadze, who ended up on the ground. They collapsed like 4 guys trying to get that loose ball, which, understand trying to get a loose ball in that situation. But Bane was left wide open, and he was already hot. He had already been hot for a long period of time. Just things like that, right? Like breakdowns like that where you lose him for even a second. Like that guy is already an elite shooter as is. He's having a night like that. You just can't leave him. And I think they let him get to that point, like Brady said, where he just was feeling it, man. Like when you're a shooter getting into that zone, you can't be given an inch of space like that. And I just think in general, like it was clear that Bane was the X factor for this game, even coming into this game, like I said, because they always do a good job on Paolo. I thought Bane was going to be the swing guy for this game, and he really got going starting in that second quarter, and they just couldn't put a lid on it. And I thought overall their pick and roll defense was not where it needed to be tonight, Bane or not. Like they just kept scrambling and not being in the right position. And I thought, just not being able to stitch together multiple stops in a row. Like that is their whole thing, man. Like the fast-paced offense all of a sudden looks gimmicky if they're not playing defense. And I think that's one of the bigger takeaways. And look, to be fair, like the Magic are a great defense. They executed their game plan to a T once again against the Heat. And I've mentioned this so many times in recent shows because they've played in this stretch here where they're missing so many more shots. They've played the Mavericks and they've played the Magic twice. And both of those teams are not only elite defenses with a lot of positional size, but they try to run teams off the three-point line. And I think specifically the Heat's best three-point shooters were kind of run off the line starting in the second quarter. I thought you've seen that in these games. And once Norm and Tyler, Fontecchio are not getting some of these clean threes, and they're, like the twos and the fast-paced offense simply isn't enough. I think that's kind of been the takeaway here. It's like these teams with bigger positional size that'll run your best shooters off of the line are basically betting that you're not going to be able to beat them off of, navigating through and finishing over all this positional size everywhere.
Yeah, it's interesting too. You look at the Heat shot 24% from 3. So this is like a 6-game stretch here where you just cannot trust the shooting. The offense, although they're scoring more, I mean, even 108 is more than they used to score. It's not to where they were trending early in the season. So that's a little concerning. And then you're playing a team that has so many advantages with size, with length, and Kel'el Ware and Nikola Jovic play a combined 12 minutes, and all of those minutes were for Kel'el Ware. Brady, how are we supposed to process a game against a team where it would appear where Ware's skill set would help, Spo not being able to trust him for more than one quarter of basketball tonight?
Yeah, it's tough because I mentioned, in the first 2 matchups with Orlando, the first one they started Nico, the second one they started Kel'el. So they've gone big in both of the matchups with Orlando. And both those games were closer games than this, you'd say, because they were both down to the wire finishes in both those games. So you were able to kind of get to a point and make it scrappy. And they just weren't able to get to that point defensively. But I guess the issue is that lineup has not been good defensively either. So it's like, I know it's like that thing we do where we're going to talk about, maybe does this change the point in the game? I don't know if that does happen just because of that reasoning. Like it just hasn't been good defensively. And I've kind of was of the feeling that the perimeter defense was more the problem in this game than anything. It really wasn't them getting a ton of second chance points or a bunch of offensive rebounds. It wasn't that to me. I think they probably should have gotten to it at some point, just because I like them getting to the Bam Ware thing at some points in the game, especially to match that size, especially if you're trying to find a spark and the small ball isn't working. I'm not against going to it. But I just feel like Pella goes down. They needed a new ninth guy. I actually thought Nico would get some run in the second half after going down, just to maybe spark something. I don't know how it would have looked. But they go Drew. Hopefully that will maybe help some of the perimeter stuff that they were in, and that he had he checked in and got a quick steal. He has his moment where he's able to do that. But it's still the perimeter defense overall just was not good enough. As Alex was talking about, the pick and roll defense, I thought was something really eye-popping. Like it just felt like every screen, it was a 2-on-1 every single time. And it's like, okay, are you going to help? And then it's a 3, or if you don't help, it's going to be, a paint shot. So I just thought that, I don't know if the big lineup really changes this. I mean, they're going to have to, we're getting to a point in the season where they're trending in a pretty bad direction right now, where they're going to have to start trusting and figuring out some of their young pieces, especially as it feels like every time we turn around, there's a tweet being thrown out there about certain trade possibilities. You got to figure out what you have here. Maybe you already know, and maybe I'm overthinking that, but I just feel like maybe in games like this, when you are trending in this direction, let's throw Khalil and Bam out there together. Let's see what you have here. Let's throw certain combinations out there to see what you have. So I guess that would be my only argument there. But in terms of changing the outcome of this game, I don't have much confidence in that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think that was probably more of a macro level question than how it would impact this specific game. It starts to give me pause when Spoelstra can't trust a guy who was kind of tailor-made and brought in to be a player to kind of plug this specific gap that they have within the roster. And it just hasn't manifested itself. Although, like I think maybe Alex said earlier, they went big with the starting lineups early and the games were a lot closer. So who knows? They're in the comments saying this is why LeBron left. I don't know how that's relevant anymore. So that's probably the cue that we'll get to our next segment, the C-Arm and Staffing Play of the Night.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-Ray of the Play of the Day.
This ain't the play of the day, but a public service announcement is I could tell just by watching that Anthony Black doesn't like Tyler Hero and wants to prove that he thinks he's better than him. And I saw that was a matchup that was engaging, and I'm interested to see how that plays out if these two teams were to ever meet in maybe a 4-5 matchup, something like that. Do either of you have a play of the night that you'd like to nominate? Because this is about as forgettable a game offensively, I think, and defensively, frankly, as there's been. So for me, I have nothing. What you got, Alex?
So this is usually not my strong suit here, but one that's and hear me out on this, because it's a positive play to start, right? But where I'm going with it is not necessarily so positive, because I thought one play was awesome. I can't remember at what point in the game it was, that Bam transition pass to Tyler. He threaded the needle. That was
one of the best passes of Bam's career. Sorry. Thank you for saying
that. No, for sure.
I'm glad you brought it up.
It's not necessarily like Bam is a great passer, but he doesn't usually do stuff like that where like it's an elite defender, Jalen Suggs, who was guarding it pretty well, who tried to play the steal and then who got back in time, right? So great finish by Tyler as well, for sure. But it was an awesome pass. And what I'm going to do is use that to talk about, since that was a transition play, how I thought their transition game was just not where it needed to be tonight as well. I thought like there was a lot of weird shots taken, either an early transition, whether it was off a make or off a miss. I just thought they've been taking some questionable transition threes as a team for a while. I think some of them are rushed. Some of them are taken by guys who that's not necessarily their bag, especially when the shots are not set and clean, right? Which a lot of transition shots, like threes, frankly, aren't, right? They're not always these wide open ones that Tyler used to take, right? For example, but I thought in general, like, it's great that they're playing quick, but that doesn't mean you just take bad shots just to take a shot in the first 3 to 5 seconds of the clock, which I felt like that's the only thing they talked about tonight on the broadcast. By the way,
that was the Hornets broadcasters, by the way. They got pulled in for this Amazon thing. And that was not fun. They felt like Magic fans, right? Maybe I'm just biased.
I guess they were just reacting to the Magic getting hot there, and that's that's what Eric Collins does for sure. But no, just the theme of the fast pace, because both, to be fair, like to them, like it was a relevant theme. Like the Magic also have been playing a lot faster this year.
For
But
sure.
yeah, like sometimes the pace stuff gets overblown. If, like we talked about earlier, they're not on point defensively, and they're taking these questionable shots. I think especially in a game where maybe they just needed to chill and find a good shot, right? Instead of always just trying to get something up as quick as possible. Like I think they've got to find a little bit of a better balance there. And for sure, like people have mentioned in the comments, they've come back down to earth as a shooting team, right? Like they had a hot start, to be fair, and they also had a hot like opposing team start. Like teams were hitting lower like percentages from three, and I think those things have come back to earth, like in this stretch here where they've been losing.
And so what is it now? They've lost 4 of 6. Am I tracking that correctly?
I think it's 5 of 6
5 of
and
6.
4 in a row.
5 of 6. Oh, okay. So does anyone know when they play next? Because like the other thing was, now that this cup is over with and they are eliminated and everybody now goes to Vegas, Simone Fontecchio will not get his first trip to Vegas. Also, side note, Tyler Hero was at 999 threes coming into tonight and finished 0 of 6. Does not get to 1K on this evening. When the Major, I think, was in the comments saying they play Sunday. Can anyone confirm that?
It depends on the winner of this Raptors-Knicks game. It depends if they – I think it's if they go to Toronto or stay at home. I don't know. I think it depends on this winner. And they'll either play Sunday or Monday.
Did not realize that. So I guess they'll pick right back up here. But it looks like they will get at least somewhat of a break. I think that's probably healthy for this group to get in a couple practices.
Actually, I wanted to say that because I believe they're not practicing the next 2 days. So I think it might be going in the opposite direction where they're like trying to get away from it for a minute. I don't know which way you would rather. Wow. Like it's like getting away from it or getting
2 days.
Yeah, next 2 days. Because they're going to be, I mean, there's no game until, like I said, Sunday or Monday. So they're going to have a lot of time off in between. But I think they're going to take time away for the next 2 days. And
that would make sense. They pick
wait
back
till they
up
know
Friday,
their matchup.
Saturday. That's interesting because I saw Spoelstra was quoted as saying, we need a practice day. We could use one. So I was thinking they would be right in the practice gym, but a couple of days off. Any final thoughts? I mean, I don't know how to feel about this cup thing. It would have been cool if the Heat got to the final round and obviously made it to Vegas. I'll continue to say that Davion Mitchell is a consistent son of a bitch. He plays consistent basketball every single night. It may not be fancy, but he's going to get you what he gets you. So shout out to him. I'm enjoying watching him grow as a Miami Heat player. But ultimately, this is a disappointing night. Orlando gets the best of them again. Do either of you, Ethan, I text Ethan during the game today and I said, in the building, does it feel like it's a bigger game than usual? He said yes. Do either of you feel like we should hold more weight to this matchup at all, or should we just move on to the next one?
No, I think you could. I mean, I think both teams knew that they were going to get up for this game. So I think this was honestly a little bit of a test for them. I mean, they had the hot starts this season. They've been bad of late. It's a one-game sample size. Let's see what your best looks like against our best. And their best is without Franz Wagner. So, I mean, it was a little bit of a test. I did want to mention one last thing because I saw a comment come through earlier where they said Bam, Tyler, Wiggs, and Norm combined for only 9 assists tonight. And I do think that is an interesting trend because you have those 4 guys in the starting lineup combining for 9 assists. Davion Mitchell, 9 assists. So he's having as much assists as your other 4 players. And the reason they think that's important, I mean, that's a big part of this offensive conversation, which is, I mean, every time Davion gets the ball in isolation, I mean, I remember a lot of times he's crossing over and getting a finish at the lane, but it's always just about searching for the kick out. It's about searching and working that wheel that they were early in the season that they talked about so often, that Bam and Norm went on Amazon Prime to discuss and talk about and go over. But I look at it now where I think, and I know this will get pointed at for Tyler specifically, but I think you can go for all 4 of them, is that when they get it in isolation and in that point of the offense, it's almost every time looking to score. It's them looking to go get a bucket, which is a part of this offense, early clock offense. You want to go and score quickly. Mm-hmm. But I think they're kind of losing the plot a little bit here. they're losing the plot a little bit, which is like trying to make the defense work, trying to move things around, not letting defenses be able to blitz out on a screen. Like that is the reason you're not being able to screen, is because of the things that you're able to do to scheme up against. And it feels like a lot of times with this, as the game progresses, because it doesn't happen early in the game, it's as the game progresses, they kind of just let the defense get away with it. Like they let them kind of watch them. And it's like, it's almost less taxing for a defense to be able to just guard, stay on one guy one-on-one consistently over and over.
Yeah.
And as the game goes on, you get a little used to the guy you're defending. I mean, you get a little used to his tendencies. You kind of start reading into stuff. So, I mean, they're going to have to start working that wheel a little bit more. Like, I mean, that's as simple as I could say, because I'm watching Davion and he's always running. He's always kicking. He's always got his head up and he's always attacking. And it feels like he has a really good balance right now of when to hit each, where it feels like a lot of these other guys are really leaning heavily in the scoring direction. So, I mean, that was just an interesting stat, but I think it does hold some meaning with the way they're playing right now.
We also have a comment here that Bam was too focused on going at Wendell Carter Jr. for the 2-on-2 comment. I do think Bam does. I'd be lying if I said he doesn't like make a beeline to the rim any moment that he can with Wendell Carter on him one-on-one. Your final thoughts, Alex, before we close up shop today. Is small ball going to ultimately be the demise of this version of the Miami Heat?
I don't know if it's going to be their demise. I think what's going to be their demise is if they can't figure out how to play big ball together and in a way that is consistently effective on both ends of the floor. Because Spo going out there and telling you that the other day, like that, it was pretty clear to me. Like he said it in a very like clear way. He wasn't hiding things. He straight up said that look hasn't been able to defend. And of course, a big part of that is that a lot of times, like if you're starting that, it's going to be with Hero and Powell, right? So like for as good as Davion is as a point of attack defender, for as good as Wiggins and Bam are, right? Like, well, you know, Wiggins wouldn't be in that look, I guess. But either way, like I think they have to find some sort of balance. Maybe you don't start them, right? And I understand maybe doing that, but you have to find a way to play them together and balance out those lineups. Maybe it's just that you never do it with Hero and Powell at the same time. You know, you try to minimize that look. But look, man, like there's a reason in that same press conference, he pointed out that Bam is the anchor there. And I just think in general, like it's almost sometimes it's more theoretical than anything, the defense with that look, because of the size stuff that you have to deal with Hero and Powell, where they just get hunted. Like I thought Hero was getting hunted again tonight. And when they were blowing a lot of those, either when it was a mismatch or when they tried to hedge and recover, just didn't think those looks were clean. Powell, a lot of times he gets lost off ball. Sometimes he'll get killed in the pick and roll as well. You know, like the subpar defense shows up in a different way for him than it does for Hero, which is a lot more on ball. But still, like I think those are two things that are tough to work through if you're already like a little bit worried that, you know, Kalel is not going to be up to par. Because look, man, like for as much as he's improved, he still does some of those same things. You know, I know people are not going to want to hear it, but you know, there's a reason why he got benched in the second half against the Kings. There's a reason why he only played 12 minutes tonight. Like it's not because Spo hates him, right? Like sometimes he plays poor pick and roll defense. Sometimes he's, you know, trying to rebound with his hands and not boxing a guy out. Like it's the same stuff, you know, we've been talking about forever, going for the block, taking himself out of position, jumping and getting caught on a foul. Like he did those things tonight. All those things were checked off in that short stretch. So I don't love that he has that short leash, because I do think they need to work through it, but it's not for nothing, right? Like I think they have to find a way to play those two together and maybe minimize some of the perimeter defense concerns alongside them.
Yeah, I don't think Spoelstra's picking on Ware here. This is a situation where you're just seeing a young player trying to figure it out, and Spoelstra's he's got a quick hook in these scenarios. There was a comment here that we're gonna finish with, and it's from a loyal listener and off the floor subscriber, and that is Donut Dan. He says, "We've seen enough of a sample size. Hero and Powell do not work." I think it's a little too soon, but I think that we leave tonight's episode with still very much all of the same questions that we've continued to pose. We still have those questions about this team. So we'll see how they regroup. They are sliding in a bad way. They need to get out of that. they'll have another chance to do so hopefully Sunday or so, we think, pending the results of further basketball, but we'll have you covered for that. Shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to Brady and Alex. Ethan has you covered at the game, so follow him for live coverage of Spoelstra's post-game comments and everything else. Peace out. The Miami Heat lose, but they live to see another day, Sunday or Monday or whenever the hell the next game is that they play. Good night.